With Ghana set to hold its presidential and parliamentary elections next Monday, December 7, 2020, all eyes are already one of Africa's finest democracy, if you like to describe it as such. Well, Ghana is often cited as a success story for democratic transition, and on that premise, the two main political parties, the center-right New Patriotic Party, NPP, and center-left National Democratic Congress, NDC, have alternated stints in power since the country began holding multi-party elections. Although each party has bases of support in certain regions or ethnic groups, the parties define themselves by ideology and campaign on issues. The 2020 presidential election will be a rematch, as the NPP has nominated Akufo-Addo for re-election, and NDC has nominated the past president, immediate past, Mahama. This will be their third consecutive matchup, and the state is already set for what has been described as a clash of the titans. Well, joining us to discuss the Ghana election is a journalist, EBENEZER AFANYI DADZIE. Hello, EBENEZER, glad to have you join us. Interesting scenario. The past president, Mahama, who Akufo-Addo defeated in the elections, is coming up against the incumbent. How do you see this?
It's quite an interesting spectacle, and for us it's historic, because this is the first time we've had a president lose an election and come back. It doesn't happen often, and also it was a bit expected because we've been used to both of the parties usually having 8 years in a row, and so when he had just one term, perhaps he felt that, well, why not? I have not concluded my term, and so I can come back. Well, it's been a lot of argument for people whether indeed he was the best choice for the opposition NDC. But also some will argue that indeed, in the moment that they were, they may not have had a candidate that was so popular already than John Mahama to be that match for them. And they also believe that indeed they did some good works, and that the opposition NPP then, which is now in power, had some interesting campaign that was able to smear the image of John Mahama as a corrupt person or somebody who supported corruption. And so they think that that was their undoing, and not that Ghanaians really thought that they were that bad. And now they feel even more emboldened because under the regime of this administration, there's been a lot of debate as to whether indeed this government has performed based on the promises they gave Ghanaians, especially in terms of infrastructure development. There's been a big debate on infrastructure. There's been a bigger debate even on corruption, because then candidate Akufo-Addo, who is now president, came strongly on the back of corruption, that he was going to fight corruption and protect the public purse at all costs. But as we speak, the NDC feels that the president has been a direct opposite of all that he promised. And the NPP has been opposite of everything they promised. And they feel that they even have a better record in terms of infrastructure development than this current government. And so it's quite an interesting election for some Ghanaians, especially the neutrals or the very objective Ghanaians. The people are not clear in their minds whether indeed the John Mahama is somebody they want to give another chance again, considering also the failures of his government in the previous election. So it's quite a dicey situation. Not many are going into this polls very sure and convinced of any hope. And that is why you're even hearing people saying that perhaps it's high time we get a third force, because these two parties is almost the same. And the difference is that it is only the actors that change, but the script has been the same.
Sounds like a similar story that we hear all across Africa, doesn't it? But there have been calls for Nana Rawlings, the wife of the late Jerry Rawlings, to pull out of the presidential race, which she said that she won't do. Firstly, why are these calls being made? And tell us the latest on this story.
Well, it turned out that that story was not accurate. We do not know who started that story, but it's a bit strange that there were major news portals trusted in this country that published that story. And it turned out to be false. And they held a press conference later. The general secretary of that party held a press conference and said that it was complete falsehood. And for some reason, they were even thinking that it was the opposition NDC that was spreading that falsehood just because he is their party founder, and they are not even comfortable with his wife contesting in the race. And so that story is inaccurate. And the wife of Jerry John Rawlings, the late president, is very much in the election and she's on the ballot paper as part of the 12 political parties and 1 independent candidate who are contesting in this election.
Well, EBENEZER, I'm hearing that people like the Ghana police, the military, media, and ambulance workers will be excluded from voting. Why? If this is true, can't arrangements be made for them to vote? You didn't hear me, EBENEZER?
Well, this is not accurate. This is well. Yeah, I heard you ask. Yeah, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, talking about people who may not vote on 7th December, that they're excluding Ghana police, military, media, and ambulance workers. Is that true? Or if it's correct, why would they be excluded? Why can't arrangements be made for them to vote?
It's not accurate. It is not accurate. It is not accurate.
Okay, so what's the true picture?
The true picture is that we know that tomorrow is actually the special voting. That is December 1, Tuesday, is the special voting. And indeed, every Ghanaian who is playing a role in the election, as in journalists, as in the media in general, security personnel. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead, EBENEZER. We can hear you.
Yeah, so it is not true. I'm sure. I mean, every security agency and every emergency service provider is playing a key part in the election. The truth is that tomorrow is the special voting for the media, for journalists, for security personnel, for election officials, EC workers who will be recruited temporarily for the exercise. All of them are voting tomorrow. So they are all part of the exercise. So I do not know where that information is coming from. What we just heard earlier was that, according to some persons, some police personnel whose name were supposed to be on the special voting list had been taken off, or the names were not found. But that, we are told, is a situation that the Electoral Commission is working on. And so there is no deliberate attempt to take out any special service provider on election day who is supposed to vote tomorrow from the special voting. It is not an accurate information being orchestrated by the Electoral Commission or anybody.
Today on Newsday, to fill us in on the upcoming elections in Ghana.